You got it.
Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hope you all are having a great evening. It's Fred and Sheila.
Hey, guys. Going to be an interesting video.
Yeah.
This one, too, on DNA.
Yeah.
You know, DNA's come up over the last couple of days more so than ever. And while I was looking the other day I'd sign back up and re-register for Ancestry and run across a couple of names there. And at first I thought that they had, this one had actually taken a DNA.
Right.
And then when I go back and look at it, it's, I don't know if he's got it hid as a DNA or if it's, it just says DNA relationship to Fred McCoy. And it says half third cousin or third cousin once removed.
Uh-huh.
And it's got RH.
Uh-huh.
And talking about Rio Hatfield. Now, there's what it shows me on that, but it must be, see, I don't know a lot about the DNA stuff, so it must be hidden or something, because there was another place that said, yeah, it says he's not been on there in over a year. But I was on there today going to try to look for the thing, and it says this person either has not had a DNA, or
No, I think it was that one.
or he's not related to you. And but that is the one showing that half third cousin.
Yeah, I think it was the other person you was looking at.
Might have been.
What's that?
So the question is on this video is, how important is it to be who we say we are?
Okay.
Are there imposters? Imposters not only in the Hatfields and McCoy's families, but imposters in all kinds of things. You know, once upon a time, guys, we could tell people we was kin to Kirk Douglas. We was kin to John Glenn. It mattered. Nowadays, we have DNA. Nowadays, there is a way to remedy all rumors, all speculation, and all misrepresentations.
Okay.
Now, we're going to find out at the end of this video how important it is. Some people says, oh, just anything to do a video on. Oh, anything to gripe about. Oh, anything to... Is it? Is it? Would it be worth $3,000 to you to know the right heritage of somebody? Let's go over something here at one time.
Okay.
We're talking about Rio Hatfield. Now, let me explain about Rio Hatfield, because some people says, oh, you always on to Rio, always on to Ron McCoy, Bo McCoy, William Keith Hatfield, Jack Hatfield. Guys, 2001, and I say this in the videos, but I say it because a person may see this video and they may not see one of the other ones, so I like to fill them in. I'll tell you what's going on for the last 24 years, and that is, because Sheila and I didn't start speaking up till March of last year. This March will be 2 years. So it's not even a year and 7 months yet, 8 months. So, but in the time that we've spoke up, we have cleared up and clarified a lot of fibs and lies. And you know, the funny thing is, everybody, they say, well, you do this, why do you do that? Guess what? There's been people that's been doing this for 24 years. That's been spreading tales, lies? How long do we do it for? How long do we have to correct everything that's been told over the last 24 years? We've only been at it for a little over a year now.
Almost a year, 9 months.
So when people, reminds me of that movie with Clint Eastwood and that other actor we like, but he walks into the saloon and they've got his buddy out here, Morgan Freeman.
I was going to ask
in the
you if it's
casket.
him. Okay.
Gene Hackman is the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And he walks in there and he shoots the owner of the saloon. And Gene Hackman, the sheriff, says, "You can't do that. You can't do that." He said, "Well, he should have, you killed an innocent man." He said, "Well, he should have thought about that before he decorated his saloon with my friend." Mm-hmm. And that's somewhat like this is. If you don't want somebody coming back and correcting things, don't fib. Don't lie. Don't put out the wrong history. Put out the wrong DNA. And once again, I'm going to prove everything that I'm saying, and you all can still take sides. This is for the people out there that want the truth, that are true historians, and I hear you, and I felt you tapping my leg.
Okay.
Truth's the truth, babe. Truth is the truth. Let's go over the peace treaty.
Okay.
You know, in 2001, Ron and Bo McCoy sued John and Barbara Vance. Now, in Ron McCoy's book here, he says that well, let's just go over it as we come through it.
Okay.
On page 4 of Ron's book, he says, "I was 35 years old before I knew the history, before I knew that I was related to the clans." Can you see? I can't hardly see.
That's not what you was looking at.
Yeah, I can't hardly see. This is Ron McCoy's book. I don't know if y'all can read that or not. That is his book. I was 35 years old before I knew I was related to the clans. He goes on over here to page 'I knew little about the feud itself or my family and family's involvement in the feud." That's what he says right in there.
Wow.
That's page 7. Let's go to page 14. The reason I'm in Ron's book is because it's going to lead up to Rio in a minute. This video is going to be more or less about Rio, but it's going to be about Ron too. But page 14. What's it say at the top of the page, guys? History. History of the famous feud. History. Now, he said he was 35 years old before he even knew he was related. Then he says he knew very little about it. Then he says that wrote a chapter on the history of the feud. Now, in 2001, Ron and Bo McCoy filed a lawsuit against Barbara and John Vance because they wanted to run a bus up on their property, or have a bus be able to run to charge people to see a cemetery. Now, they took them to court. John and Barbara won the lawsuit. 2001. 2003, a couple of years later, they join up with Rio Hatfield. And they say, "Rio, let's have us up." I don't know if that'll help you or not.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully
That'd probably
it will.
be better.
Yeah. "Rio, let's have us a peace treaty." So they all got together and signed them a peace treaty on TV, on national TV.
Yeah.
So they all got together and they signed a peace treaty on TV and was bragging about having over 1 million viewers. Now, we're going to go over that peace treaty, but I also want to say that within few years in 2011, after the peace treaty signed, first of all, during that peace treaty, Rio Hatfield says he thought he'd never trust another McCoy. He didn't trust McCoys on principle. Didn't trust McCoys on principle. I've never heard people do like this man here did. 2011, he wrote a story on, or gave Dean King a story on Hubert Bay McCoy. And he says on Phoebe Judge on the radio station, which is here on, well, shucks, I was just now on it. Of course, I would lose it when I get ready to go over it, but it's on page 168 of Ron's book, and it says, it's underlined there. He tells Phoebe Judge, she said, Rio, tell us about your grandfather being the last Hatfield to kill a McCoy. He said, yeah, that was in the Washington Post, and that was on, it's written in a well-documented book. Well, here's the book. I told you about it before. Look at the bottom there. Forward by Rio Hatfield. Mm-hmm. Written by Ron McCoy, but the forward is by Rio Hatfield. Page 168 says, Rio was the grandson of famed Make-One Chief of Police Allen Hatfield. Chief Hatfield had been involved in an infamous occurrence in 1947, decades after the last gunshot of the feud were fired, when Chief Hatfield and another officer raided a local Brody house, and an angry patron grabbed the officer's gun and shot Hatfield twice in the back. My grandfather turned and shot him dead, says Rio. The man who fired the shots was named McCoy. Now, that was in 2011. That's the same story he told Dean King in 2011. This is the man that signed the peace treaty in 2003. I've seen truths there. And it says in here that page 191 tells about the feud treaty being more important. One of the most important things right up there with Jesus Christ. How important it is for a person's DNA to be, for a person to be who they say they are. I'm going to read you this. Let's read the first line of this peace treaty. This is the peace treaty. Sheila, you may have that on your...
I think I do.
See if you do.
Let me see if I have that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't care.
Let's see. No, I don't. I've got this one and that one.
That's okay. I can hold it up.
I apologize.
I'm just going to read the first line.
At the end of the video.
I'm just going to read the first line.
So sorry.
Yeah, you might add it at the end.
Yeah. There you go. There's the first line.
Let's read the first line.
Okay.
We, the descendants of William Anderson Hatfield and Randolph McCoy, as well as the descendants of other ancestry participants in the historical feud. Now, this is the document that's signed, and if you look at the bottom, there's 3 signatures. Rio Hatfield, Bo McCoy, Ron McCoy. We, the descendants of William Anderson Hatfield, Devil Anse, Randall McCoy. Who is the descendant of Devil Anse? And Ron and Bo McCoy says they're descendants from Randall McCoy. Still not seen no DNA, but that's what they say. So who is the descendant from Devil Anse? Rio Hatfield? Well, on Ron McCoy's book here, on this, probably the last page that I had here, he says that Rio Hatfield, it's page 168 a while ago, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
It's okay. Be patient,
Take your
people.
time.
Yeah,
It's all good. No worries.
I think it was 168 somewhere in there. When we was talking about, look right up in here somewhere. You may have to stop your TV and do it. Ron McCoy, in this well-documented book, it's got to be right, well-documented. Rio Hatfield, a businessman living in Waynesboro, Virginia. Great grandson of Bad Elias Hatfield, whose fist fight with Tolbert McCoy over a debt owed for a fiddle led to the election day attack on Ellis and Hatfield in 1882. So according to this well-documented book, Ron McCoy, Rio Hatfield is the great-grandson of Bad Elias Hatfield. Bad Elias Hatfield is preacher Anse Hatfield's brother, son of George Hatfield. Bad Elias Hatfield would have been my great-great-uncle.
Right.
Great-great-grandfather's preacher Anse, and that's his brother. I don't know how that could be, because he says here that he's a descendant of William Anderson Hatfield, and he signed this peace treaty. Descendant of Devil Anse Hatfield. Signed a peace treaty. In that well-documented book, it says that he's the great-grandson of Bad Elias Hatfield. Now, I talked to Rio on the phone one time. We've got a couple of videos way back. And I asked him point blank, Rio, what line are you anyway? Are you to that effect? Well, that's the well-documented book. That's what Ron McCoy says. I don't know what the DNA says because I can't see nothing. Can't see nothing. Either it's not there or it's private. I can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read this to you. This you can bring it up. I think you got that on your screen.
Now that I do have. Sorry. Let me pull it up here.
That's good.
This one?
Yeah, that one. You guys can just follow along the top line there. I'll read it there. It says about a little ways down, it says, as well as a unique American legacy Henry repeater rifle, the Hatfield McCoy commemorative 150-year-old rifle, will be on display in the lobby of the Hatfield McCoy Dinner Theater, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Go on down a little bit after you see the picture there, and it says, no one knows how the feud began, but some say it started over stolen pigs. See, anytime the Hatfields are involved, they always want to say the pig started the feud. Mm-hmm. Just the way it is. They'd rather say a pig started the feud than they would say that the hard feelings and everything started with the desertion when Devil Anse Hatfield ran in the heat of battle and deserted, never to return. But it says a historical truce was signed between the two families in 2003 on national TV. See, that 2003 peace treaty really got some good coverage for Ron, Bo, Rio Hatfield. Really put them in the limelight. Lawsuit, they filed a lawsuit against the innocent man and woman. Then they signed a peace treaty a couple of years later. Now, we've already had 2 or 3 peace treaties over the years by original children of Randall and Devil Anse McCoy, Devil Anse Hatfield. Mm-hmm. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. You got it.
But yet they thought it was so important after the World Trade Centers that they go on TV and have a truce. Well, it says here now, they're down there at the dinner theater. You can back it up there and show them all on stage there. Go down a little bit.
This way?
Where they at? There you go. Look at it. There's Rio right there at the counter with the mic. Over to the right of Rio is, with his hands in his pockets, Ron McCoy. Over to the left is Jack Hatfield. Mm-hmm. To the left of Jack, I think that's Judy, his aunt.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
They're at the Hatfield McCoy Dinner Theater. You know, Rio never gave up opportunity to talk over all these 24 years about his grandfather being shot in the back 3 times. Here he says 2 times in Ron's book, but it's usually 3 times in the back. His grandfather turned around, shot, and killed him, and it was a McCoy. It was Hubert Bay McCoy. Mm-hmm. Hubert Bay McCoy was actually unarmed. He wasn't in a brothel. He was on the railroad tracks there at Make One. Mm-hmm. And he killed him dead, shot him in the back of the head. Was tried, arrested, convicted, sentenced to 5 years hard labor. He don't tell that story. He tells about him shooting the last McCoy. This was 2011, and this story went until Sheila and I corrected it 2017, 18. It went for years. Let's see here. It says, Devil Anse Hatfield was one of the patriarchs of the infamous Hatfield-McCoy feud. His great-great-grandsons, Rio and Jack Hatfield, were on hand to present the weapons to the theater. Ron McCoy, the great-great-great-grandson of Randolph McCoy, patriarch, McCoy clan, was in attendance. Ron McCoy says, we don't deny our family history, but we learn from it and we celebrate it. We hope that people can learn from it the same way we have. Not many people thought the McCoys and Hatfields would ever break bread together again. Guys, Hatfields and McCoys were breaking bread before, during, and after the Hatfield-McCoy feud. This feud involved 2 or 3 families. This wasn't all the Hatfields and all the McCoys. And that's how these people have done this throughout the years. Now, I'm getting to my point here in a second. I'm building up to it. So he says on the peace treaty he's a descendant of Devil Anse Hatfield. Ron McCoy says that he's actually a descendant from Elias Hatfield. Well, on the radio station with Phoebe Judge, in that radio interview, she asked him about his grandfather, and you can go ahead and take it back to us, yeah. Asked him about his grandfather, and Rio says that his grandfather was Allen Hatfield, was the police chief. Well, if Allen Hatfield, there's his tombstone, Allen Hatfield, and here's Allen Hatfield's mom and dad, John Wallace Hatfield, and John Wallace Hatfield's dad was Valentine Hatfield. That's his tombstone. Now, that's not Valentine Hatfield, Uncle Wall. Thank you, babe. Yeah. Devil Anse's brother. That's not the one. He was from over in West Virginia. This Valentine Riverwall Hatfield lived on the river there at Buskirk on the Kentucky side. In fact, there was somebody the other day put on a Facebook page and showing that tombstone saying this is Wall Hatfield. No. Wall Hatfield, Devil Anse's brother, is buried in a parking lot in Frankfort, Kentucky, where the prison cemetery was. That's where he's at, his body. They don't know where it's at. It's underneath the pavement. This is Valentine River Wall Hatfield. Now, Rio says that his grandfather was Allen Hatfield. Well, if Allen Hatfield was his grandfather, then his great-grandfather would have been John Wallace and Valentine Riverwall. So Rio says that his grandfather's Allen Hatfield. So we've got 3 different ones. We got descendant of Devil Anse on his own peace treaty paper. He says descendant of Devil Anse. And Ron's book, and he wrote the foreword to Ron's book. Surely he read Ron's book. And then he says Allen Hatfield. Which is it? We have an ideal. We have an ideal, but nothing like a DNA wouldn't help with. Let's look at the rifle. Sheila, you got the rifle there you can bring up?
Yes. A minute ago you said 3. Did you only give 2?
Well, the other one's Allen Hatfield, Bad Elias Hatfield, and Devil Anse Hatfield. Okay. He says he's, at one time or another, it's been implied that he's the descendant of each one of them. Well, okay. He could not be the descendant of each one, guys. Each one is a different entity. Each one of them is, Devil Anse is a son of, okay, let's talk about Devil Anse's supposed father, Big Eve Hatfield.
Okay.
You had Eve of all, and he had Big Eve. He had Valentine, which is Rio's great-great-grandfather, and he had George, which was Preacher Anse's father.
Okay.
That's what you've got. So you can't be from Preacher Anse or Bad Elias, which is George's son. You can't be Valentine descendant, and you can't be Devil Anse descendant all at the same time. Only one of those lines. Those are 3 different lines coming down. And you can either be this one, or this one.
Okay.
You can't be all, and you can't take your choice. Now, let's say that a person spent... Let's look at this history here. Let's look at this. I've got mine yellowed in, so... Okay. American Legacy Henry Rifle, the Hatfield-McCoy Commemorative 150-year-old 150-year rifle at the dinner theater.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows how the feud started. Let's go on down. Let's go down to where it talks about
The Henry rifle.
The great grandson, Rio Hatfield,
Okay.
of Devil Anse Hatfield. That it states it right there. Now let me bring this other chart up. We'll get it there.
Take your time.
Let's go
Sound
to
good.
the rifle itself now.
There you go. That's what I've got on
Go
the screen.
down to right here, babe, where it's showing the rifle here. Just
Showing.
scroll
Oh,
down.
the.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit. To where it's got a little bit more.
See, I made it into a video, and so it's.
You're okay.
Look at there. There we go.
Right. Well, I think we passed it. It's up above there. The writing. Yeah, up above.
Okay, so let me
Right
see.
there.
Right there?
Yeah. This is Henry Rifle and the people that made this commemorative rifle here. We first began working with Mr. Rio Hatfield, who is a descendant of Devil Anse Hatfield and a longtime firearms collector. He recently received his own Hatfield McCoy rifle. We first began working with Rio Hatfield, who is a descendant of Devil Anse. A descendant, guys. Don't want to beat a dead horse. Is he, what relation? Whose son is he? Is he Cap's son? Is he Tennis's son? Is he like Jack? Is he Robert E. Lee's son? Is he Johnson's son? Whose son is he? Because if he's a Devil Anse descendant, he has to be from
Lineage.
from the lineage of Devil Anse Hatfield. Whose is he? He's not. He's not. Now, here's the gun that him and Ron McCoy. In addition, we have also added a unique touch to this rifle by placing Rio's and Mr. Ron McCoy's signatures on both sides of the stock. Wow. You're going to buy that rifle there and you're going to get Rio and Ron McCoy's signature on that gun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, ain't that nice? Now, I'll tell you a little bit about it. You can put it back on me and you. We're almost done.
Okay.
Guys, they made 150 of those rifles. Now, Sheila and I have got a video. It's about a year old. You have to go back through it. It'll show the rifle. And it's a better video than this one, probably, but it goes over the rifle good. They made 150 of those rifles. They sold those rifles for $3,000 each.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to the gentleman today. He's now retired, the guy that made them and done them. And,
Very nice.
real nice. Oh, yeah, he's retired. And asked him if he kept one for himself. He said, no, I didn't even keep one for myself. That or a Marshall gun that he made. And said he'd like to have both of them, but he didn't even keep one.
No.
So 150 rifles at $3,000 each. $450,000. That's nice.
Snaps.
$450,000. These people paid $3,000 for a family heirloom
Yeah.
or a keepsake to hand down to their children. Would you want one? Would you want it to be real? How about in 20 years when one of your inquisitive grandchildren or great-grandchildren start looking at the signature, start looking at the guns, and they say, hey, I'm going to research Ron McCoy. I'm going to research Rio Hatfield, the great-grandson, or at least a descendant. He's got to be a grandson because he's a descendant. Is he a great-great? Great-great-great-great? What is he? He's a descendant. He says there and in Henry Rifle. And that child or somebody starts researching, they find out that Rio Hatfield's not even related. He's not even in the lineage of Devil Anse Hatfield as far as being a descendant. He's not a descendant. You've got a signature on a gun that your ancestor paid $3,000 for as a keepsake. It's got the, don't even have a descendant of Devil Anse Hatfield. Would you feel cheated? Would you feel swindled? I would. I would. Guys, there's some people get mad over DNA. It's out there. It's out there. We should utilize it. We should use it. And it keeps people from, it's like body cameras for cops. Keeps honest cops more honest. There's no saying. Why do you have lockers? Why do you have locks for lockers in your police dressing room, locker room? Why would? And all cops, nobody but cops in there. Why do you have locks on your lockers for? It's supposed to be some of the most honest people there is.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you hear, all the history you hear, all these flashy presentations. The funny thing was, until Sheila and I come along, everywhere they could put on a exhibit, Kiwanis Club, dinner theater, anywhere Rio could talk or speak, he was there. Telling about how his grandfather was shot in the back. He was there. We called him out on it. Not doing it more. Not doing it more. Sold these guns. And made that peace treaty there, the descendants. Devil Anse Hatfield. And signed it Rio Hatfield. Nobody, everybody just takes people. You look good, dress good, influential, got a little money. Nobody questions you. We do. We do, because that's where all these stories started. 2001, when that lawsuit come in here against Ron and Bo, against John and Barbara, by Ron and Bo McCoy, whom we still haven't seen DNAs from. I see Ron's picture on there. I've seen Ron's picture. But I can't make heads or tails from it, because it says he joined in 2000. There's Ron McCoy. It says he last visited last month. Remember on this other video, I've seen a guy's where it said last week. But over here, it says up top, DNA relation to Fred McCoy. See, I've had a DNA. It says DNA relationship to Fred McCoy. Ron McCoy is either not a DNA match or has not taken a DNA test. Why not? Why hasn't he? He says he represents the McCoys. He said that him and Bo had to come in here from Georgia and North Carolina, that none of the local McCoys would stand up for that cemetery. None of the local McCoys or anybody had a problem with that cemetery. It was open to the public. It was open. Anybody could go there. John and Barbara, it was never a topic.
They were really nice to us.
And stand there and talk to y'all. It was Jim Vance's great-grandson. He'd stand there and talk to you, tell you stories, and that guy knew the history. Never a problem till Ron and Bo come in here trying to take over a man's property so they can run a bus and charge people to see a cemetery. John and Barbara said they're not charging people to look at graves. So now you can go there once a year if you're related. But isn't it funny that Ron McCoy, 35 years old, before he even knew he was a relative of the Hatfields and McCoy, and he hasn't taken a DNA? Hasn't, or if he has taken one, we got a problem. See? If he has taken a DNA, says Ron McCoy has either not a DNA match or he's not taking it. Well, if he's taken one, you'd see Fred McCoy up there with him. Randall McCoy is my great uncle, and so is Sarah, my aunt. So somewhere down that line, if Ron McCoy had a DNA, me and him would be matching. We'd show up. So there's two things here. Either he hasn't had a DNA, or he's had one and something's wrong, because he's not showing up on mine. And I'm not showing up on his, I'm sure, if he's had one, because something's wrong. Any of these people that speak up for tourism or anybody and act like they represent the McCoys, Ron said him and Bo had to come in here and take up for the McCoys like a bunch of hillbillies, bunch of mountaineers, bunch of mountain people up here, but we have to have some city slickers to come in here and take up for us. We didn't have a problem till they created it over trying to make a little name, a little publicity stunt for themselves. Ron says it was the first time when he filed that lawsuit, it's the first time the Hatfields and McCoys were back in court since the feud. Hatfields and McCoys wasn't in court. It was the Ron and Bo McCoy versus Barbara and John Vance. It was McCoy's versus Vance. It wasn't Hatfield McCoy, but he wouldn't have got the attention had he said McCoy's versus Vance. But you let them say Hatfields and McCoys, got them all kinds of attention. Then they realized, whoa, let's sign a peace treaty. Guys, your DNA is very important. For you people that thinks I just do it to make videos. I do it to cover history. I do it so these videos will be there when we're gone someday. Very important to know who we are. If we're going to speak up as part of the family,
Where you came from?
Where we come from, who we're related to. You know, all of us are related in that area because everybody, my great-grandmother, rather, is Nancy Hatfield. My great-grandfather's Asa McCoy. Hatfield and McCoy. So that's where me and Hatfield's line comes together with Preacher Anse and George.
Yep.
Eighth of all of that. We don't know. The funny thing is, some of the most very important people there is that goes on all these appearances and all that, they've not even showed anybody who they're related to or that they've had a DNA, except Rio. Rio says he's descendant of Devil Anses. He's a descendant of Alan Hatfields. And in Ron's book, which Rio helped with, it says that he's a descendant of Bad Elias. Which is it? So in closing, guys, do you think that the people deserve to know if these people are signing their names and representing themselves as Devil Anse Hatfield's descendants, that one of the requirements should be that they're actually descendants? Is that too much to ask? You should be glad someone is checking, especially if you're buying into these stories, and especially if you're buying artifacts or memorabilia or heirlooms that you're thinking are connected to a Devil Anse Hatfield descendant. Rio, in Dean King's story that he done in 2011 when Rio was talking about Hubert Bay McCoy, he told Rio Hatfield that he never thought he'd trust McCoys again, that he didn't trust McCoys on principle. Laughable. He didn't trust McCoys on principle, made up one of the awful stories on a McCoy, a war veteran, World War II veteran, that ever been made. If you haven't seen yesterday's video we just put out, make sure you go watch it, because in Jack Hatfield's quote in an email he sent, our message he sent me, it says, "I do know of some of my cousins whom you also discuss quite often, who we do not think are actually grandsons of Devil Anse." He's talking about Hatfields. And he's talking about cousins, S, plural, more than one, whom you also discuss quite often, who is we? So it's not just it's not just Jack thinking that. It's some other Hatfields or Hatfield family members, because he says we do not think they are actually grandsons, plural, S, plural, more than one, of Devil Anse. It's not me. That's Jack Hatfield's message. So in closing, if you were at the Hatfield McCoy Dinner Theater that night thinking Rio Hatfield was a descendant of Devil Anses, you were bamboozled. If you bought a $3,000 Hatfield McCoy commemorative Henry rifle as a family heirloom, thinking Rio Hatfield's signature was a descendant of Devil Anse Hatfield, you were hornswoggled. If you bought into the 2003 peace treaty, the publicity stunt marking the fall of the World Trade Centers, if you read that peace treaty thinking Rio Hatfield was a descendant of Devil Anse Hatfield, you were misled, duped, and deceived. Plain and simple. Why would these people represent themselves as something they are not, you might ask? I don't know. You'd have to ask them. But my opinion is the same thing that Devil Anse loves so much. Attention. You know, last statement here on Jack Hatfield's Hatfield McCoy Foundation website. Click on About or Meet Our Crew or whatever it is. You'll see Mr. Rio Hatfield's picture come up with a bio. He had the same bio on TA, whatever it was, where he used to work or was the CEO. On this Rio, it says, on this bio, it says, he, meaning Rio, is well known for brokering and writing the truce that ended the famous Hatfield-McCoy feud in 2003. Wow. There was a peace treaty between Randall McCoy's oldest son, Jim McCoy, Devil Anse Hatfield's youngest son, in 1928. Shook hands, was friends. The feud was over after Cotton Top was hung February the 18th of 1890. His bio also reads, still yet to this day, he served in the Vietnam War, talking about Rio. He served in the Vietnam War as a sergeant stationed in Seoul. How deceptive is that? You can't serve in the Vietnam War if you're stationed in Seoul, Korea. Everything about it, just, I don't know. The more sometimes people, it's sad. It's sad. Guys, thanks for watching. I think that's probably going to do it on the DNA, unless we hear something back from somebody else or something like that. But it gives you a better understanding of why Fred is like he is about DNA, or people telling you that they're one person when they're actually somebody else. And don't be deceived. Just because somebody looks a particular way or dresses a particular way or acts a particular way, don't mean they're telling the truth. Don't mean they're honest. And vice versa. Catch you next time.
You can tell any lie, and it doesn't matter how big it is. If you just tell it and keep telling it and keep telling it, there's a portion of the people that believe it, and they fall in line.
Thank you, guys. Cheers, babe.
All right. Thanks, guys. We hope you're doing well this evening. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch you on the next one. God bless.
Thank you, guys.